Hey y'all, today I'm going to be doing a book haul. Surprise, surprise, yesterday was not enough, and I know it should have been, but there was a sale going on in my library. They were doing a $3 big book sale on their hardcovers, so I was like, I'm really going for this. I have to. I have extra cash in my hands, and it's calling to me. The books are begging me to take them off the library's hands. So I did, and I was able to get 13 books in all, most of them hardcover, 2 of them softcover. The first book that I got is Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. I saw a review on this by Ariel Bissett, I think it was like a couple of years ago, and I really do not remember what this book is about because that's been so long and because I'm too lazy to go look it up for you. So if you really want to know what it's about, just go to Goodreads. Most everybody has a Goodreads now, so you can look it up there. But I'm looking forward to it. Ariel Bissett liked the book. I'm looking forward to reading this. I've been wanting this for ever since she reviewed it, and it really just sounds really great. It's really short, too. Let's see how many pages there are. 127 pages. I could read this in an hour. I'm not going to do that, because at least not today. But yeah, super excited. The second book I got is Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier, and I was really surprised to find this there because I did not know it was a book. I thought this was a movie, and I watched the film, but when I watched it I wasn't really into it, and I'm not really sure why, but I am going to watch it again after I've read the book. So Cold Mountain is about a Confederate soldier who's been sorely wounded and fatally disillusioned about the war, and he decides to walk all the way back to where the person he loves lives, and it's about his journey back to her, and it's also about Ada, the woman that he loves, as she tries to rebuild her father's farm and the struggles she has to go through. I'm really excited to actually read the book because maybe I'll actually find it intriguing and interesting. The Aviators Wife by Melanie Benjamin, and this is about Anne Morrow, who's a shy college senior with aspirations to become a writer. She travels to Mexico City to spend Christmas with her family, and while she's there, she meets Colonel Charles Lindbergh, who has just succeeded in his first solo flight across the Atlantic, and this is in 1927. She's completely captivated and enthralled by him and doesn't really believe that he noticed her, but surprise, surprise, he did. And in Anne, Charles sees a kindred spirit, the same adventurous side and all that stuff, and so on a whim they get married. In the years that follow, she has to deal with the disappointments in her life because she wanted more, I think, than just being an aviator's wife, and that's all that people see her as. And I guess she thought that it would be more than that. She had this fantasy of this fairy tale life that she would have with him, but she has to deal with the struggle between her want for independence and the fact that now she's kind of dependent on him. It sounds really interesting. I've heard mixed reviews on this book, but I'm gonna make up my own mind on it. 3 Weeks in Paris by Barbara Taylor Bradford. This is about 4 best friends who were in a art school of design, and they were, like I said, they were best friends, but I think right before they graduate or whatever, I'm not really sure, but something really happens and they all stop being friends for whatever reason. Several years later, they all get invitations to a reunion for the school, and they have to make a decision if they're going to go, and they all do make the decision to go because there's unfinished business between all of them. Sounds very interesting. These kind of stories are a hit and miss for me, but I'm always excited to see if one of them will be a hit. The Man in the Box by Tom Moran. This is about the Livingston family who's Austrian. One day, years and years ago, before 1943, Dr. Robert Weiss had passed through their village as a stranger. He rented a room from them, and before he leaves, he saves their daughter Nikki's life from appendicitis. He doesn't ask for payment because that's what we do for another human being, and he leaves. They don't see him again until 1943 when World War II is just beginning. He shows up at their home and begs them to hide him, and Nikki's like, well, that's what only a human being would do. So her father hides him in the barn loft. He walls him in, and this begins a chain of powerful transformations for the family. It sounds very intriguing, and I'm really excited. Anything that has to do with World War II, I'm going to grab up. So I did grab this one up. The Teahouse Fired by Ellis Avery. It sounds very interesting, and I've been really wanting to get more into Japanese culture, even if it's fictional. I think it will be very interesting just to see a little bit more of it. The Invitation by Anne Sherian. So we'll see where this author takes this. But it sounds really interesting. I haven't read a book that deals with India or people from India, so I'm really excited because I do have an interest in that culture. So I really am looking forward to getting into this, and hopefully I enjoy it. The Dead of Winter by Renee Aerith. I'm not really sure how you pronounce that, but this is a John Madden mystery that is set in World War II England. So in London, Rosa Novak is murdered in the year of 1944, and the police believe it's just a random thing and it would have been dropped, but the former police investigator John Madden decides that he needs to take over the case because she was a former employer of his. He might have left it to his old colleagues, but because there's not a lot of clues, he decides to pick up the case for himself, and he tries to figure it out, but the war is starting, and there's just it's a lot of craziness for him, but he feels that he owes her, so basically that's where the story is taking off at. And I'm really excited to see where this author goes with this and how much the war will have an effect on the plot. So we'll see. Dr. Death by Jonathan Kellerman. This book is about who killed the killer. Dr. Eldon Mate, who is an euthanasiast, I don't know how you say that, but he's famous for his assisted suicide, and he's killed with his own equipment that he uses to kill others. The case is assigned to Milo Sturgis, an LAPD homicide detective, and he decides to once again turn to his friend Dr. Alex Delaware, a psychologist. But this case causes a lot of conflict between the detective and the psychologist because of a secret that Alex has, and because he won't even discuss what it is, it causes more complications between them and with the investigation. It sounds very interesting to see like what his secret is. I'm super excited to get into this. I'm really looking forward to getting into a mystery. The Righteous Men by Sam Bourne, and this is a end of the world apocalyptic book. But really, it sounds dark and creepy and mysterious, and I'm so excited to get into it.
The next book, I was actually, the next book is a book I'm truly surprised because this book only came out like at the end of last year, I think it was December, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that someone gave this book away. It looks like it hasn't even been read, so I was like, oh my gosh, I must pick it up. I was already at the checkout, and I glanced over, I hadn't even looked at the shelf, so I glanced over it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? And I've been wanting to get this book for so long to read it, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to like, take it out from the library, and it says it's only in a hardcover. I was like, hail to the no, because like $3 is not worth it for me, and that is
The Goldfish by Donna Tartt. Reading that synopsis right there makes me even more excited to get into this book, and oh my gosh, so many good books. A Change in Altitude by Anita Shreve, and this is about a newly married couple, Margaret and Patrick. They moved to Kenya. I'm not really sure what he is. He's some kind of doctor, and she's a photojournalist, and she starts working there by taking pictures of the locals, and she has to deal with the change in cultures, and also she has to deal with the fact that she doesn't really know her husband. Then one day they are invited to go on a climbing expedition with another couple, and they eagerly agree, and they go for it because it is an adventure and all that. But one of them falls to their death, I'm guessing, and Margaret is left with the grief and also with guilt. She has to try to understand the events that led up to it, and I guess how it could have happened, and she also has to deal with how something so small can create such a big effect on one person. So it sounds very intriguing. It feels like it's more of a psychological study on grief and guilt and stuff like that. So I'm really excited because I'm into psychology, and yes, I really like this cover also. The last book that I got is Thunderstruck by Erik Larson.
This sounds really interesting, and I'm psyched to read it because of that.
So that was it. That was all the books I got, and if you've read any of these books, tell me what you thought of them, just no spoilers. And if any of these sound interesting to you, tell me that also, and I will see you in the next one.